So some of the common scams, let's have a look at those. We're still seeing that one that you can see on the screen right out straight away, that reaching out, asking for help, pretending to be someone within the family group. That's still common and it still can land and be successful. So we're seeing that message about, hey, mom, it might be grandma, it could be, grandpa, it can be whoever, but it's someone in the family saying, hey, I've broken my phone or I've lost my phone or someone's taken my phone and I now need you to communicate with me on this number. Don't reply here, it's someone else, but please contact me, etc. So there's a lot of that. You can see straight away there's an urgency there. And that urgency is something that I'd like you to take on as, okay, hang on, take a moment, pause, just stop. There's lots of different ways to build up your adrenaline, and the scammers know them, and that's what they're trying to do. So if straight away you get something that seems urgent, 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 stop everything, then that's one to go, hang on a minute. Let's take a breath and let's actually explore this a bit. So they're trying to get us to respond. They're trying to kind of build on our emotional response, and that's a big part of it. We also know scammers, as you can see here as well, around the Taylor Swift tickets. We also see scammers really do their research to look at what major events are happening. Now, let's hope that that cyclone in Queensland just passes on by out to sea and causes no problem at all. If, however, let's say there is some flooding or there is some impact by that cyclone, we'll see scammers try to play on that. And people are vulnerable. People might be worried. They're, not quite sure. Their communications changed a little bit or the like. So what we do know scammers do is they do the research. They find out what's going on. Last year, those Taylor Swift Eras tour tickets were a huge source of scamming. And we know that at least, a few hundred people actually reported being scammed and paying for tickets that obviously didn't turn up at all. So we know that people, again, it might be a major event or it might just be that urgent, I need help reaching out, or your payment's late, you're not going to be able to use the tolls. That might come in the evening and you're thinking, I have to use the tolls tomorrow to get to work, to get to an airport, whatever. And people can really respond to that. So they're that urgency, major events. These are the four we're going to have a quick look at today. We're going to take our time with all four of them. I'm going to start with phishing scams. They're definitely about trying to get your personal information through fake details from someone that is not real at all. We'll talk about those friendship, romance, dating scams as well. And tech support scams, really, we also refer to them as remote access scams, and we'll get to all of that as well. And that's really saying that they need something to be fixed on your computer and they're going to help you do that. We'll look at those. So let's move on to phishing. If you've been here before to this session, you'll know what phishing is about. But phishing's that PH, phishing, is really two words put together. It's the idea of the act of fishing, throwing out bait, seeing if you can reel someone in and catch someone. So that's the fishing part. But also back in the early days, the phone line was actually your connection to the internet rather than the modems that we have today. And so that phone line, that PH, really comes from there because, we saw people ringing and we still see people ringing on landlines trying to scam as well. So phishing is really a combination of phone and the act of phishing. So that's the most common method, is using the phone. Now, the second most common method of phishing is actually using emails, and those emails look real. They use company logos, and they've been on the increase because people are able to make very realistic looking emails. We did see most of the big financial losses started through that sort of social networking and online, and we know that really scammers are trying to target people there as well. In fact, it was up 4% from the year before. Now, internet as well isn't just those social networking and those connections through social media. It's also things like video clips or pop-ups that come onto your screen and people click on. So that's going to be a big one today, is talking about don't click on links or pop-ups that appear on your, either in your email or even on your desktop. And of course, mobile phone apps as well. They might not have the security that can help you, and text messaging remains a way of reaching out to try and contact people. All right, so we're going to look at phishing emails, and we're going to use this wonderful example that Greg left with us because it was a really nice, clear one. It was an email that Greg had received from Westpac. He'd had 2 or 3 emails from them in the few weeks before that about some new initiatives. So those scammers knew that emails had been going out from Westpac, and really this fake one looked pretty much almost exactly the same as this. And it stated that there'd been some changes and that he needed to make sure his account was running properly, and therefore needed to provide a bit of extra information so the bank could put some extra security in place. It absolutely looked legit at first view. And this is that stop part, pausing, just going, okay, yeah, that looks, because you've seen a few that in the last few weeks. So yeah, here's another Westpac one. But you've got to stop and go, hang on, what are they asking me to do? Oh, that's right. They're asking me for information. I better stop here because they should have all my information. So there are a few key things that stand out as suspicious. And the first one is when you look at the email address at the top. Now, this is always a good place to start. When you click on that email address and you expand it to read the whole email address, instead of just saying it's from Westpac, it was from Westpac to F56, blah, 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 blah. Now, that is very suspicious immediately. It should be from westpac.com.au. And again, not a westpac-com.au-mail. So it's not even an Australian address. So starting with the email address is the number one place to start. Is this, in fact, Westpac's email address? The second part is the lack of a capital G for Greg. So that lowercase g, straight away, really suspicious. And then the last one, if you can, as you can see, it asks you to sign into your account. So this is asking you, this is the key bit here. It's asking you to click on something in an email. Now, in this case, they wanted Greg to then put his first and last name, his username, his credit card number, and also his password. So loads and loads of red flags here. So we don't click on something in an email. I actually had cause to talk to my superannuation fund the other day because they sent when I went in to look, they were asking me to click on something to activate a new system. My just red flags were going bing, 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 bing. I hadn't had an email from that superannuation fund, etc. So I just didn't click on it. I called them. It was boring. I had to sit on a phone. I had to wait to speak to someone. It was legitimate that they were changing their sign-in thing, but they actually went about it a terrible way. And I spent some time giving them a little e-safety lesson about, hey, we spent a lot of time talking about don't click on links, and then your process is to not let people know this is happening and then ask people to click on a link. They own that. They went about sending out those emails. A lot of people hadn't activated because they didn't click on the link. So even sometimes a trusted agency may actually do the wrong thing. So the key is don't take a chance, don't click, call them. Actually call them on their number, on their website again, not their number they might be providing in some random email, and do your checking. All right, so let's talk about the ATO. Also, tax-related scams, big form of phishing. We see them a lot, and we definitely see them around the sort of end of financial year, beginning of financial year. So you might get a message asking you to complete a tax refund review so that you can get paid some money that's owed to you. Now, that's an attractive little bit of phishing there. People wouldn't mind a bit of extra money that they're owed, so they're going to ask for your bank account, maybe your credit card details, because they're going to transfer you money. That's appealing to us emotionally because we think, oh, if we're owed that money, we want that money. But ATO already has all of that information. They're not going to be asking you for your bank account. They're not going to be asking you for your credit card details. They've been putting in your tax that way for a long time. They're never going to ask you to verify those things because they have the direct links. So you know straight away it's a scam. Here's an example of a fake ATO email that's been used. So let's look at what gives it away as a scam. Firstly, it does not have the person's name or address included. When it doesn't have a name, it means this is just one of those big, wide fishing nets they're throwing out to everyone, hoping they're catching some people. It's saying, "Dear customer," always a good clue, not addressing you directly. It's from an organization that's genuine. They might even have their account number. When they write to you, they usually will use those things that these scammers can't actually have. So straight away, okay, we're suspicious. We're really suspicious. Secondly, we talked about that expanding of the email address before. And if you look at this, I did click on the email address at the top to expand it, and it comes up with info.user with a series of numbers at timesecuremail.com. Again, that's someone using a United States email address. It's definitely not from the ATO. So I just want to clarify a couple of things here. You can click on an email address because all it'll do is expand it out for you to see. If you can already see it all, you don't need to click on it. Just leave it alone. Now, if you reread it, if you've done that stopping, pausing, and rereading, you can see there's some poor spelling there. You can see there's some grammar mistakes. And that's just not going to happen from a large organization that's running spell checkers and probably has multiple people reviewing a letter like this before it's sent out. Now, links. This is the one. Don't click on links. Do not click on links. You can, however, hover over a link. And that just means having your mouse, taking your cursor over. We're not clicking down. We're just hovering it over that link, and then you can see it expand out again. So we can see here it says ato.gov.au. Sorry, it doesn't lead to an ato.gov.au. It goes to the apo.gov.au, and then there's some other words, and it is absolutely not the real ATO address at all, and you can see it. So remember, don't click on that link. You want to just hover over it if you want to see it further. And the other thing that really tells us that this is a scam is that they're promising you $220 refund and that everybody's going to be getting it. Now, if that's the case, ATO's made such a mistake, it's in the media. You would have seen that already. So this is unexpected. Now, that's another red flag. It's unexpected that they're offering you this money, and that's probably a good indicator that you're not talking to the ATO. So that's a whole range of things that we're looking for. Don't forget, it's really important. Their sense of urgency should be a red flag to us. It's something that we need to go, okay, no, they're sounding really busy and hectic. Let's actually take a moment. All right, let's talk about ATO phone scams. You might receive an unexpected call on the phone rather than an email from the ATO, or they might leave even a voicemail, and they tell you. So what I'm saying in this scenario, when they say that they're calling you from the ATO, you need to say to them, "Thank you, that's fantastic. Great, I need to make contact with you, but I'm going to do the right safety stuff. I'm going to hang up. I'm going to call you directly on your number." And this, of course, is a direct number for the ATO. That's, of course, taking a bit more of your time, but it's definitely the safer approach. Now, if these scammers ask for credit card details over the phone, don't give it to them. If they threaten to arrest you or say you're going to face court action or deportation due to tax evasion, again, they are scammers. They might try to keep you on the line for as long as possible, and that is really about trying to wear you down to a point where you might concede. They might tell you that you have to ring a particular person at the ATO, and then they give you a phone number. Now, again, don't use that. Use the proper number to get to the ATO, the 1800 number, because that call's just going straight to a scammer. Now, another big clue is often they say that you're going to get fined if you don't pay straight away. And they might tell you that they need the payment with all sorts of very strange sounding options like Google Play or iTunes vouchers, or you need to get a Coles, Woolies, Myers, Big W, or even Bunnings card as well. So all of that immediately suspicious. Now, if they want you to deposit cash into a Bitcoin ATM or Western Union, flags are waving so strongly it's not funny. So this is a good one to be aware of because it's pretty prolific. They have, people sitting there in kind of factory conditions, which are horrific, really, sending out these phone scams to try and capture people. ATO is definitely aware of these scams. They're running their own scam call center and hotline to help you out. So you can see those numbers on the screen. And of course, those numbers again are on the website and again in our information for you. So things to remember, they're never going to send you a text message asking you for personal information. They have got all of that information. They're never going to ask you to pay a fee to get a tax refund. And they're not going to ask you to make a payment in some sort of random way of Bitcoin or iTunes card. So key things to remember, all of those say scam. So if you think there's been a crime that's happened online, you need to contact someone straight away. And this is super important about you actually reporting quickly. Now, you should contact cyber.gov.au, fill in the information to report what the crime is. Now, I know one of the things that can get in the way of people reporting these things quickly is that you might feel embarrassed. Try to put that aside. You don't need to be embarrassed. You've done nothing wrong. No matter what options you took, no matter if you did things that we're recommending you don't, this is not you. This is criminal activity and you need to get help, support straight away. So try not to kick it down the road a bit and wait a few days till you've finally gone, oh, yeah, I do need to speak to someone. Try and report really quickly. Within that first 12 hours, that first 24 hours, it's all a lot more traceable when you give us the immediacy and give these groups the immediacy. The Australian Signals Directorate, all of these groups are there to help you. They want to help you and they want to try and get back the money and stop that, that movement of funds as quickly as they can. And encourage other people to do the same thing. Let all your friends know, hey, we just need to report this. If this happens, let's report it. Let's get people to help us. So what have we learned in this part? Don't click on any links. You can hover over the link if you want to check the address, but if you feel a bit nervous about that at all, just don't do it. Just leave it alone. Don't open any attachments. So they might send you an attachment, a certain file. Don't open it. Again, that may be holding some malicious, software, and you're downloading that onto your computer. So again, don't open any attachments, don't click any links. Any of that is providing access to those scammers, and don't give them the details. Don't use the contact details that they give you. Actually go direct to the number that you find through a search on the internet for the ATO, your super fund, whoever. Use the white pages, whatever you need to do. Don't use phone numbers that they give you, because that's, again, going back into their scamming system. So another good point here, which I think is a really good one, is that you can register onto something called the Do Not Call Register. There are a couple of companies that are exempt, and one of them is the Royal Children's Hospital Appeal. But otherwise, you can do it for your mobile phone and you can do it for your home phone. So again, you just would look up the Do Not Call Register. It's absolutely free and it's going to block your number from receiving marketing calls other than those couple of charities that I mentioned. And if you're getting numbers being called from overseas, and you don't have family overseas or people overseas who should be calling you, then you can always have your phone set up so it doesn't accept overseas calls. So again, that information about how you do that on your phone through the settings, which is call blocking and identification on an iPhone, but it might be called something else on an Android, is all that information is for you on our website as well. All right, let's talk about these friendship, romance, dating scams. We know from the data that Australians are losing a lot of money to these scams. In fact, 23.5 million in 2024. So that data has come back to us. Scammers are using dating apps to lure victims into investment scams and the over 55. So it's not only older Australians, it's also lots of others, because you can see over 55s lost 14 million, but that's over 60% of all losses are actually being absorbed by older Australians, but also younger people are also targeted and experiencing this as well. So how do they work? The way they work ultimately is scammers set up fake profiles. So they use photos of someone that they've found on the internet, or in fact, they might even buy 40 or 50 pictures of a particular person for this exact purpose of creating. So there's a bit of a black market out there for images, and people can buy them. Scammers are buying them, using them then to create these fake accounts. And they'll set up conversations if they think you're someone they might be able to connect with. So usually they'll say, I'm from Australia, but then they always seem to be, in fact, overseas, visiting someone, or they're working overseas right now. And all that is so that they can say, I can't possibly meet up with you, because they're never going to be in the same country as you. So then this is all playing out online, even though you think you're talking to someone who actually is living in Australia. Now, they have really elaborate messages that they've taken a long time to develop. This is an industry. I think that's the best way to see it, is that scamming is an industry, it's a criminal activity, and it is created, these sort of fake profiles, the scripts that they use to try and engage someone, there's a lot of effort and time being put in to try and create messages that will engage people and that will get people eventually to try and pay some money to them. So they'll say they like to meet up, but then something comes up and they can't possibly. And they might have talked with you long enough to know about what's happening with you financially. So they might know, that you're expecting a little bit of a windfall in some way, or you're about to move some money into another account and use that to go on a holiday. So they chatter. They will invest the time, because as you can see from that earlier data, there's a lot of money in this. So they're going to spend the time to try and get you to share enough details about you. And fundamentally, once they've gained their trust, once they feel like that connection is there, they won't go in too early. They're going to take their time, and then they're going to have an elaborate story that asks you to help them out financially. Now, that can be, the range of narratives that we see used there are just huge. So there's not one way. It might be someone in my family is suddenly really sick, my mum, whatever, I need help. I'm about to get money myself, but I'm just waiting for my bonus to land. Could you possibly lend me some extraordinary amount of money? It might be 5,000, it might be 10,000, it might be 20,000. We know people who have been scammed have been shown passports. They've even taken screenshots of those passports, etc., because there you go. They're verifying who they are, and I can see that document on the screen, and that's that helps me believe in this story. But all of that can be faked as well, and so it's all designed to get you to believe what the person's saying, that you're seeing some documentation, you believe it's really real. But the key message is, if someone asks you for money that you have never met before, that's a starting place for a huge red flag flapping in the breeze. If they're asking you for money, you have to immediately think, this is not who I'm looking at, this image I'm seeing. And really, as technology is changing, you can have moving videos of people talking now. It doesn't just have to be flat, sort of two-dimensional images. We're going to see with AI the ability for this example here of Margaret to be actually, talking to us and moving and doing all those things. That doesn't make it any less fake. And really the key thing you're looking for is someone's asking me for money, and a lot of money. And actually any money, to be honest, is something that, scammers will play the long game. So that's important to keep in mind. So a few hot tips for who we're looking out for. We're looking out for people who express deep affection for you quickly and tell you also about their financial troubles. So it's that sort of, it's very flattering. And if we are in a place in our life where we're feeling a bit lonely and we're not really feeling that we're getting what we need emotionally, if someone is giving you a lot of that, it can really build a connection that, we might have all our little kind of red flags going, and we're thinking about those, and we've got all those in our head, but then it can feel really real. So key thing, if someone's really over the top in the way, we call it love bombing, and we see it in all sorts of circumstances, not just scammers. We also see it, with people who are really trying to enact some sort of control over someone in their life as well, maybe in a romantic relationship, etc. offline. So that love bombing is a technique, and it's used because it's effective. And this telling you about financial troubles, that might not happen day one. That might happen 2 months in, but it's kind of letting you know straight off the top, they might be going to need you in some way financially. Now, again, any story that puts off being able to meet up straight away, again, okay, this is probably not Margaret. This might be somebody else who's, writing to me from a scamming factory offshore somewhere. So let's be thinking about that. Now, again, their curiosity about your financial status should be a red flag. What do they want to know about you? Are they trying to find out what your personal financial situation is? Are they trying to see what sort of wealth you may have? They're trying to dig into that background. Again, that sort of curiosity about that. Again, doesn't have to be day two. It could be further along. Any kind of exploring of that, again, be wary. So thinking about a profile, if this has happened through a dating app site. Now, that profile, being aware of what that profile says about that person, then seeing if there's any contradictions as you go on with your conversations and connections. So let's say, for an example, they talk about being a really proud grandmother, rah, 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 but then when at some point they sort of talk about really looking forward to their first grandchild being born, those inconsistencies can happen because scammers are often cultivating multiple situations at once. They're not, they've got a lot going on. They've got a lot of people to remember. They've got a lot of things to remember around that. So if there's any contradiction where you think, hang on a minute, they just said something else and now we're saying that doesn't seem right. Trust your instinct, trust your guts, trust your intuition. You're right. That person is probably not who they say they are. And this is a reminder too, it's okay just to say, no, thank you, I'm not interested anymore, and end the conversation, because things can get heated and there can be demands, and you need to just feel comfortable that you can shut something down. And that can be hard if you've sort of believed something else and then you think, no, actually, I know what's happening here. But do take that action. So, how do we protect ourselves? If you've got someone who you've only ever spoken to online and they're asking you to share money or transfer money from an account to another account, big warning flag right there. If they're asking you to send personal information, now they might be asking that in all sorts of tricky ways and not just directly, but if they want your personal information, your date of birth, anything to do with your bank details, your credit card details, absolutely don't do it, and know that that is someone who's trying to scam you. When you have their name, it's always a good idea, and lots of people do this for lots of different reasons. If you have someone's name, type it into Google and do a bit of a search on them. It's really not a bad safety measure to try and find out a bit more information and maybe check where they say they work. If there's a copy, which I'm sure there is, if they're using images to show who they are, take a copy of their photo from that social media page or that dating app that they've sent you, and you can take that photo. You can, as you can see on the screen there's, when you're on Google, underneath the big word Google, you'll see images as well. Just go to Google Images, use that good old little camera there, and you're going to be able to upload the photo that you've taken off their site or their page and put it in there. And you might find, as we know you can find, you're going to see that image pop up on a whole bunch of different sites, a whole bunch of different names. That's actually not their image. That image is being used across the internet with all sorts of people by scammers. And really, the last one is trust your instincts and your gut feelings. It's a really important part of making decisions and knowing what is going on and taking assertive action for yourself. All right, let's just take, this is a quicker one, but it's an important one. So we're calling it tech support scams because they're pretending to offer you tech support, but we also refer to them as remote access scams. So this is really where companies are contacting you, often by phone, but it's not always. Sometimes it's a pop-up actually on your desktop as well. But they're coming to you by phone. They're saying, there's a problem, and we're here. We've seen there's a problem on your computer, and we're here to help you fix it. Now, this is a classic example you can see here on the screen. This is Meg. This is Meg from Microsoft in North Sydney. Now, it's not Meg. She's not in North Sydney, and she doesn't work for Microsoft. She's a scammer. But she's going to say, this is who I am, and I'm calling you about your computer. It's sending us reports here at Microsoft, and it's saying that there is software that's been identified that people are trying to hack you. So she says, luckily, we're onto it. We've got this. We have a piece of software that you're going to install, and that's going to stop these hackers getting into your system. Now, she's going to lead you to download a file onto your computer, and she might direct you to a site that you can go to. She might give you a link you can click on, and then you're going to download it, and then we are going to be able to fix it remotely for free. Now, it's that remote access she's talking about there, where someone away from wherever you're sitting with your computer is going to be able to do their magic and remotely fix it. Now, and they'll say, it's really quick. It's only going to take a few minutes. All right, red flag, big time. Someone's saying that there's an urgent problem. I mean, that's urgent is just a red flag. Okay, there's an urgent problem. Someone's hacking you, but don't worry. We're here. We're going to help you. Now, first thing to think about when we're thinking about that, and this is that stop, think, okay, hang on. Would Microsoft actually contact me? And when we think about it, we know that big companies, Microsoft, Apple, Google, all of them, they don't have time to go around looking for people who might have a computer problem. They're definitely not doing that. So if someone rings and says there's a problem with your computer, that you're being hacked or you're about to be hacked and we're going to fix it, it's a scam. Now, sometimes those messages come as a pop-up on your screen, and it can be bright and make noise and do all sorts of things, almost like a poker machine. Really, it can be really bright and capture your attention. Again, big sense of urgency about it. This happened to me a few years ago. I was on an Apple computer, and an Apple icon that looked so legit it wasn't real suddenly appeared on my screen. Now, I was absolutely almost scammed. I did call the phone number for tech support that I needed to, because this was years ago and I absolutely was not aware of this scam. And the only bit that stopped me going right through with giving them money, which I was about to do to get something that was going to fix my computer, was that when I said, oh, look, hang on, I'm just going to do a little bit, I'm just going to check a bit more. And then immediately the person I was talking to got really pushy and actually also got a little bit angry and was really, because they were clearly thought, I am so close to closing the deal with this one and I'm about to get this money and get her credit card details. And then my intuition was obviously telling me, oh, hang on a minute, just take a little moment. But if I had gone through with that, I would have, I would have lost money. I would have given my credit card. I would have been in all sorts of strife, and I would have had, virus on my computer, etc. So it absolutely can happen to anyone. So that's why we're just going principles of safety. What are they? Stop. If someone's saying it's urgent, if they're asking you to click on something, if they're giving you a number to call for tech support, that number is absolutely going to the scammers. So when it pops up, it's flashy, it's bright, they're trying to get your attention, they're telling you it's urgent, all these things are telling us this is a scam. So again, some really key principles about how to protect yourself. Stick to your guns. Remember the things that we're talking about today. Ignore those pop-ups that come up on your screen. Don't open them up. Do not give anyone access to your computer. Don't give out your personal details to someone who rings you. And do not buy software from a call or an email that is unsolicited. You haven't sought it. You haven't seen there's a problem. All of that protection of the viruses and is going on in the background on your computer. If you have a protection program on there, virus protection. It's doing its work. You don't even know what it's doing. It's doing its work. It's doing its job, and you don't need to be, jumping on something that someone's randomly called you about. So, in summary, about tech support and remote access scams, really same thing. Don't transfer any money to someone you've only just spoken to by the phone or email. Don't send that personal information, your date of birth, your bank or your credit card details. And be aware, because this is the bit that can really stir people up. They can get angry with you. They can be yelling down the phone at a targeted person, which is what I was talking about myself. If you don't follow their instructions, it's all part of a script. And that's the thing to remember. This isn't real. This is a scammer following their script and trying to get you to do things that you don't want to do, that sounds very suspicious and you're pretty sure is a scam, and they're stirring you up emotionally and pushing you to respond in that moment. So good old Scam Watch. Stop, check, protect. Just keep that in your mind. Stop, check this out. Do your due diligence. So here's again just a little checklist to review some of those key principles. Slow down, take that moment, reread the message. Take your time with whatever the message, whatever form it comes in. Who's it addressed to? Is it an official email address? Are there grammar or spelling mistakes? What are they asking you to do? And does that sound right to you? Don't click on links. Don't download files in suspicious emails. Again, you can hover your mouse over it to just kind of see it expand out and see how dodgy it is, but you don't have to do that either. If the key principle is just not to click on them. And then, as I did with my super fun, get on the phone, contact them, and find out, is this legitimate? Let's do it with the trusted agency. Don't respond to calls, emails, or pop-up messages about problems with your computers. Not accurate at all. They have no idea. They're just trying to get access to your computer. Definitely think twice before responding to requests for your personal details. I would say think about 15 times before you respond to requests for your personal details, because it's unlikely anybody who's contacting you who would already have them, or they don't need them, or you should be giving them to them through an approach that you've made to the agency. And if you're unsure about a message that you've received, then definitely do not use those contact details. Do that internet search. What's my phone number for my super fund? And get that phone number and get on the line and wait and do all the things that you have to do to get through to someone. But go that way. Don't actually use the numbers that they give you. So where do I report if things do go wrong? So if you think maybe you've been caught out by any scams, or someone you know and care about feels the same way, then first thing, contact your financial institution, your bank, your superannuation fund, whoever it is, particularly if you have sent any money or if you've shared financial details, because they may be able to stop the transaction or get your money back. So do that quickly. Try not to worry about those, and completely natural and understandable feelings of embarrassment, but try to put them to the side and just think, no, I have to put that to the side. I can feel all that later. I've got to act. I've got to get my bank onto this. Definitely report to ScamWatch. Again, all those links are in the summary sheet and they're on our website as well. You can contact idcare.org if you think your personal information's been compromised or misused. And again, for Medicare, Centrelink, MyGov, scams, services, then you need to call Services Australia. Don't worry about grabbing all those. It's all on the summary sheet and it's really easy. And of course, report cyber at cyber.gov.au. So, yes, there is a handout for you today. Those of you who are used to that, then you know how to do that. It's really just a download, and you can absolutely trust that it is a good link to click on and to download it. You can also find it on the Be Connected website, so that's a nice and easy place to find it as well. And look, really importantly, we have a bunch of other webinars on their way. And in fact, we have a session this Thursday with my wonderful colleague, Vesna, and she will be going through selling safely online. So that's this Thursday, and you can see on the screen a little screenshot of a whole bunch of great topics that we have coming up just in this month. So today, can you spot a scam, selling safely online, and then later in the month of March is managing your emails safely. So they're all fabulous, all easy to get to, and of course you can book your spot and be connected, which you all know how to do because you're here today. So I'm just going to bring my camera back up so I can see you all. Let me see if that is working. Yes, it is. That's great. Firstly, huge thank you to all of you for being here today. Thanks for sending through numbers, those who already have done. But I wanted, firstly, just a big shout out to anybody who's organised this session today with a group. It might be in a library, it could be in a retirement village, it might be in a community centre, computer clubs, men's sheds, all the wonderful places that Be Connected beams into. Thanks for organising to stream today's session. We love that. We really want to know how many of you joined us today so we can see some numbers, obviously, about registrations and who's here, but those groups, it's super important for us that you give us that information. So I have a tool here, a poll, which, is the first time I've run a poll, which I'm excited about. I don't usually use polls, but here we go. Let's get this on. All right, so it'd be great if everyone can do this poll. Look at it fly off because people know exactly how to do that. I'm just going to give you a little bit of time. I can see 42% have already voted. Was it just yourself today? Lots of people in their individual logins. Big shout out to all of you. Good on you for getting onto your computer and doing this session today. There's a few of you in groups of 2. There's a few in groups of 1. There's more. There's some who are 5 or more. Now, all those wonderful humans who are in groups of 5 or more, if the organizer or someone in the group can jump into our questions box and say, hey, we're a group of 15 or we're a group of, 8, whatever you are, we'd love to know that. If you want to put in where you're coming from, so I can see Bacchus Marsh Library and Lake Macquarie Libraries, brilliant. Thank you, and thanks for, I'm seeing some